we're as motivated as you are to wrap it up, but we should do this last 2 days justice by having John and Srini share some of their thoughts and their takeaways from what they heard from you. We said this was about you. And I have a couple of questions I want to ask them just to get their thoughts before we wrap up the event about sort of where the company is going based on what they heard and just kind of where we are as a business. So we'll do that, and then, see? And I put an Aerospike sticker on the rocket, and we're going to do that and then let everybody out of here. So, Srini and John. John, I'll start with you. What were the main things you are going to take away from this conference?
I think some of you guys are doing amazing things. If you really think about it, you're taking a fundamental enabling technology and you're putting it down. I mean, it's unbelievable. And you talk about this digital transformation. I think if a lot of big existing, established, incumbent businesses saw what you guys are doing, they'd be scared to death because it's really cool stuff.
Srini?
I learned a couple of things, from this particular, the last 2 days. First is that the kinds of applications our customers are using, they are fully utilizing to a large extent the features that we have built, So we always have a question when we build features, are they going to be used? Are people asking it for some reason? But what it looks like to me, based on the presentations today and the level of diligence that was put into the presentations, but also in the work itself, it is crystal clear that our product is helping at a fundamental level all of you to achieve certain very important business goals better than potentially some other products. So, that was kind of reinforced in a very strong way. The second part, which was also clear to me, is that each of you is already bridging a lot of gaps between where our product is and what you need it to be for actually connecting to other systems as well as running them on the cloud. There's a lot of, and APIs, migrations, and so on. And to some extent, the roadmap that we have does match it. But what it gives me, what I've learned is we really need to focus and get there as fast as we can so that you can actually work on even more important things. Those are the two basic things I think I got out of this.
Great. So these are now my questions, so I get the chance to ask questions. But I think in light of what we learned from you and how we were inspired by you, I think an appropriate question to ask, and I'll start with you, John, is, and I know you don't have a crystal ball, where do you think this company is in 3 or 5 years? What's the opportunity we have with this group of people? Where could we be?
I think the momentum around these digital transformation is huge. And I think many of you represent early adopters, visionaries. I think a lot of this is going to go mainstream, and I think we can play a meaningful part. I think all of us here are pioneers in some form or another, and pioneers usually take the arrows. I'm looking forward to sort of helping, if you will, the world go through this transformation. And it's a digital world, that's the future, and it's pretty exciting.
Srini, how about you?
I agree with John, but I also want to add certain specific things that are in my mind. One of the things, one thing that is very clear, this is what's clear to me and Brian when we started the company, 10 years ago, is that the idea of transforming your enterprise so that it becomes digital, which is essentially what we heard this morning from Hermine, is something which was going to happen. And the only question we had at that point in time is, would we build a product which will help do that, and would we be around until it takes off? And that question is definitely answered to me. I think it is happening and we are around. Great. So where do we go from here is the question. The way I would see it is we would expand all over the world. Okay, I mean, I think if you look at the verticals and the various pieces that we are in already, they are sufficient to build a really large company. If we can find a way to bridge the gap in the product I talked about, but also in terms of building out the community and so on. But really, I don't see a specific limit. And the one specific thing I do see where we can easily expand, and in fact, John and I are going to be in China and India next week to help develop our business there. India is already delivering significant revenue. China is getting started. In fact, if you looked at the people we put up a list of countries below. I mean, there was a huge number of presentations from Israel. There was Harmeen from India, North America, of course. But also importantly, there would have been more people coming here from Asia if only they had been able to get the visas. Their visas got rejected in some of the countries. But that's a different issue. And we've had that problem both last year and this year. And Japan too, we had our early customer from Japan. So what are you going to see, in a few years? We will be as adopted in other parts of the world, which are catching up really fast to the US and the rest of the world, and sometimes in some ways they're ahead in terms of internet usage and mobile usage. Yep. So we have a huge role to play. So that's where I see us going.
Yeah, great. So with great opportunities, and I'm sure everybody in the room can identify with it, we heard a lot about people that were willing to just admit, we tried a few things and they didn't work, but it was okay because that learning process makes us stronger. I don't think it's any different for us here at Aerospike, certainly as the marketing guy. There's things that I have to figure out to get us better known. This is just one of them. But John, things that you think are some of the challenges, the primary challenges we have to work on, not just us, but work on with our customers. What do you think are the things that are some of the big ones?
Well, I think all of us are in this vanguard, and I think the opportunity to sort of expand this wave for us, from our standpoint as a vendor, but for all of you that are innovating and taking this new technology into the organizations in which you're a part, there's a lot of evangelism that has to take place. I was listening to Teresa the other day, the HPE woman, and I can't wait for the first exabyte deployment. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be big, and then Srini's going to build it.
Well, you saw our team. Our team's going to build it. They won't even allow interview and get me into this development team anymore.
Srini, what do you think are the big challenges?
Our big challenges, I think, are to keep our eye on the ball right now, because we're still a small company. We know where we're headed. We are focused. And the immediate thing I would do is essentially enable our user community, and to some extent, John mentioned the evangelization. We have to get the word out that there are things that now one can do with Aerospike, and it is not just a flash in the pan. These have been deployed for 8 years in production with virtually no downtime at scale, and there are problems being solved. I heard about the batch-based use of Aerospike today in a couple of presentations, but also the graph database work. So there are areas in which we can expand. That's one huge challenge we have. The other challenge is to ensure that we can keep the way we function now is extremely efficient and productive. And as we grow the team, there will be more people. We'll probably grow by 2 or 3 times the number of people to maintain the culture. Fundamentally, I believe it is people who build products and who build companies. And we have to continue to focus on the quality of the people and set up the culture that we have and grow it. And to me, that is actually, if I ask you for one specific thing, if you ask me, I would say, how do you grow this culture in the right way so we can address these problems?
Yeah, good. So last question. I thought of this one myself as well as I listened and watched the slides go up. And you see Aerospike as a component and a critical component in a big landscape of a lot of other technologies and other things that have to be pulled together in order to build the things that you guys are building. I'm impressed by all the things that have to come together. We're just an ingredient in a big recipe. So as I look at that, and I think some of you guys even talked about it, there's potential partnerships that might evolve. There's potential things we could do as a business to maybe help that along. Aerospike Connect is part of that. It's probably not all of the things that we could imagine doing. I think it's an interesting question for you, John, and you can't divulge anything, but what do you think in terms of other interesting partnerships and things we could do to help this community accelerate what they're trying to do?
Well, there is an ecosystem, and the extent to which we can integrate with the ecosystem and take friction out of your deployment patterns, I think helps you, helps us with market adoption, helps you with speed to success, the window to good outcomes. We have a good relationship with the Intel people that helped sponsor our conference, but also are building some remarkable storage devices. I mean, the scale and the potential of those devices is, I think, unimaginable at this point, and working with them matters. I think you'll see us develop deeper relationships with the public cloud providers. Makes sense. About 40% of our clients work in the public clouds. So creating, ease for deployment models and orchestration is something you're going to see us develop. And to do that, we're going to need to have deeper relationships with those vendors. We already have good relationships, but we need to work and invest in those.
Good. Srini, how about you?
I pretty much agree with what John said. I mean, the only thing I would add is, we built something which enables certain kinds of applications which work differently or better than what anybody else can do. I mean, we could build another one like us, but it's not going to be based on existing products, but it's possible to do it yourself, if you will. However, in order to kind of help people achieve that, right, there has to be enough of what I would call investment, a joint investment, I would say, with partners. Because I think John knows this better than I do, actually, is a database company has never really been successful without very strong partnerships in terms of with hardware vendors. Nowadays it'll be also with cloud vendors. In fact, we're investing in it ourselves. But that is the biggest, most important thing I would see us having to do is the partnerships, so that we can not necessarily do everything ourselves. But essentially have a mutually beneficial partnership with a lot of relevant parties to make this particular market more aware of Aerospike and also benefit from it.
Okay, thanks. So that was it. I told you I was going to make it brief on the questions. I don't know if you have any final remarks before I give away the rocket, which they're really here for the rocket. But do you have any?
I have just one final remark, and I say it kind of honestly. I really thank all of your customers for the patience and persistence you have shown in working with Aerospike over the years, and continuing to kind of guide us in terms of how, and giving us feedback, both good and bad, in a very honest way. It has been really, I would say, one of the pleasures of working in Aerospike is to interact with customers, especially who care about what they do, but they also care about doing it right. And that is, I'd really like to thank you for having that attitude and that kind of inspires us and challenges us on a daily basis. And also, I have to say this, I have a shout out to our support team, who customers have called us Superman, one of them called them. So I do have to recognize them. They have been amazing. So thank you to our support team, but also mainly to the customers for using our product and helping us.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll echo what Srini said, and thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks, guys. So, all right, here we go. Our winners for these tweets. Robert Burney. I don't know if Robert Burney is here.
Yes.
But Dor, you were asking me for the last hour, did I win?
And you did.
I won. And look at he tweeted, and what did he say? The A team. That photo is all the people
Yes.
at Aerospike that made this event happen. And I think that was a nice compliment to the people here who brought this together for you. So since I only have one here, we will get the other one too, Robert. Come on up, get your rocket. Thanks. Congratulations. With that concludes the event. Go outside and enjoy some beverages and food on us. Thank you.
Thank you.